Check it out, check it out. Need like a mic stand for my shit. Are we live on YouTube yet? There we go, there we go. How we doing? How we doing? Nobody viewing. What's up, y'all? What's up? Hi, Amira. You like this beat? Have you ever heard it before? It's been around for a while. This was one of the ones I made in like the batch before I moved out to LA. I saw your text, by the way, baby. Thank you. What's up, Cadillac? How you doing? How we doing? How we doing? I'm just getting going here. Getting some people in. Got 5 viewers. Just heard this one. Yeah, I've had this beat for a while. I actually did a verse about Epstein on this beat, and that's what I'm talking about right now. That's not why I started with this beat, but it's an interesting fun fact. But I just wanted to talk about the Epstein shit that's going on, read some articles on stream with you guys, and let you know what's going on. Hold on one sec. What's up? I'm back. Can you guys hear me? We chillin', we chillin'. Alright, so this Epstein shit, let's get into that real quick while I got some viewers. The sound, I don't know, it's from a record. I was sampling a bunch of records before I left Cincinnati, and that's where that one came from. I can't quite remember the record that it came from, but I was using lots of vocal samples and different chops of shit. So, a couple things off the bat. This bill moved very quickly through the Senate. This bill to release the Epstein files. I thought that was going to tie it up and it was going to be in the Senate for a while, but they passed it in the course of like a day. And then it immediately went to Trump and he signed it. So that is purely because he changed his tune and decided that the best way for him to get this whole thing dealt with and out of the way is if he just kind of pushes it through. And I think the plan that they had was to try to I think there was some reporting from DropSite that they're essentially going to scrub the files for anything that includes any Republicans or Trump officials or anything related to Trump. So hold on one sec. There was something about Kyle Kalinske said this. He might have just I think he was repeating a claim that what's his name from Project Veritas said. Kyle Kalinske was saying something that James O'Keefe from Project Veritas had put out there about how Republicans are scrubbing the files at some specific facility and then they're going to release it. They're like having it done there. But James O'Keefe is Project Veritas, which is, you know, for all intents and purposes, a pretty sketchy source. But as sketchy sources go, sometimes he gets it right. Let me see if I can find what I'm looking for here. Try to find it on Twitter. I'm not logged in. Sign in right now. He was talking about a Department of Justice whistleblower. You're saying that's what Kyle Kalinske said? I know that it had some connection to O'Keefe. I'm pretty confident in that. Trying to navigate these different windows here. Kyle Kalinske. But yeah, essentially it seems like the play is that they're gonna just redact anything having to do with Republicans, and Trump is gonna try to throw all of the attention onto Democrats. That seems to be the move here with this. And I don't think that's gonna work, but they're moving quickly enough that tells me that they have something in mind when it comes to this. Adam Mockler's a real one. Yeah, so James O'Keefe said it, and doesn't mean it's not true, but it seems like he kind of views his job as like, I'm gonna put out anything that you know, is salacious enough to get one, you know, whichever side is not in power or is in power, I'm gonna try to, like, you know, do something that is gonna get them up in arms. But I mean, historically, as far as I know, he has not put out information that hurts Republicans in the past. That's not what I know him for, certainly. So, not sure exactly what that means, but yeah, let me see if I can find anything about that. That's the thing about Kyle, is he tends to hop behind stuff like that really fast. Makes Epstein cover-up claims in hinge date honey trap. Okay, here's what we're looking for, folks. This was in September, though. Alright, here, I'll show you guys this. This is what I immediately found about it. So this is from September 5th. But like a person in chat said, it's a DOJ official that says there was a hinge date honey trap that happened, where essentially a DOJ person is saying that there's there's essentially a facility that they're going to use to scrub these files. But like I said, this was from a while ago. See if I can find anything. Thousands of pages. Again, this is a person from the DOJ. How to handle the files. When asked what Attorney General Pam Bondi wanted to do, he replied, "I don't know what Bondi wants. Bondi wants whatever Trump wants." Yes, person. Yeah, so this was from September, where they said the thing about if the Epstein files are released, they'll have Trump's name redacted. I actually remember when that was originally spoken about. Yeah, so all this is from September. I'm not sure if this is... Let's see. Storm. Look at this. You guys probably can't hear that, right? Can you hear that? I can get the audio for that coming through.
So, some news last night as I was flying in. I saw the news regarding Dan Bongino resigning from the FBI. I saw the collision between Pam Bondi, Bongino, Kash Patel, stuff happening. I want to tell you a little story, take you behind the scenes, take you undercover as we try to ascertain what's really going on. They always, why do they always tell the truth only in private? Why do they not say the quiet part publicly? But maybe they say it privately. Let me take you back to the month of April. This is April 28th in a restaurant in Washington, D.C. This is the Attorney General of the United States talking to someone. They recorded it, sent it to us, talking about tens of thousands of videos.
Do you know when the Epstein files are going to get released?
We hope soon. The FBI's been...
Okay.
So,
any dates?
No, you know what it is? There are tens and thousands of videos.
Yeah.
And it's all with little kids. So they have to go through every one.
Now, we sent the Attorney General an email requesting comment. This is on May the 1st, a couple days after the 28th. We quoted what she had said, tens of thousands of videos of little kids, not something that's been reported publicly. After we sent the email, suddenly we saw this at the White House.
James Comer said yesterday that all the Epstein files are missing. We still haven't heard from you.
No, the FBI, the FBI, they're reviewing, there are tens of thousands of videos of Epstein with children or child porn.
It seemed to mirror quite identically what we had captured just 9 days prior.
Tens and thousands of videos.
Yeah.
And it's all with little kids. There are tens of thousands of videos of Epstein.
All right, so everything he's saying right now, he's just pointing out inconsistencies in what they're saying publicly, which we already know. So, I'm trying to cut to the chase of what this presentation is about. I can't tell how long this actually is.
Of Epstein with children or child porn.
Something didn't seem to add up.
Probably gonna get scraped
on the inside with knowledge of the situation to come out, to tell the truth, because we, the American people, have a right to know. This is incredible. It's great to be back here. I don't have the bulletproof vest on. I'm just wearing the cross today, so hopefully that protects me. Because we tend to make a lot of enemies telling the truth, don't we? You can tell a man's virtues by his enemies and his vices by his friends. Thank you, Charlie Kirk, for having me. I got a lot to get through in 20 minutes.
I don't think the files are gone. I think something's going to come out.
Incredible. One of the largest crowds I've ever seen. It's my 10th year at Turning Point. And I'm announcing, and I have announced previously, but I'm going to release some new information here on stage with you today. It's time to take matters into our own hands. If we can't get transparency, then emails.
What the fuck is bro talking about?
This is just bizarre. Even the ACLU protested this. This is another liberal organization defending me in federal court. This is just bananas. What does it mean to be liberal anymore? What does it mean to be conservative anymore? I consider myself a constitutionalist.
Lack of transparency.
I believe in the First Amendment.
Okay.
I believe
this
in
is a bunch of horse shit. I think that when people are talking about, I'll keep trying to find it. But I think when people are talking about this facility where they're going to scrub the files or something, I can't find anything specifically about that. I'm trying to find the case or the post where Kyle Kalinske said something about it. Supposedly. All right, I'm going to go. All right, now I understand what's going on here. So this was a reference to an old thing that Kyle Kalinske said. Kyle Kalinske spoke about this James O'Keefe thing when it was originally said, which it looks like was back in September. So this is not new information.
I regret to inform you, you're not going to get to see the full unredacted Epstein files. It's not going to happen. And here's why. We already know there was a DOJ whistleblower who came out and said, and James O'Keefe has the literal video of it, they said, look, we're purging all of this stuff about Trump and Republicans from the Epstein files and leaving in the stuff about liberals and Democrats. And so they're cleaning up those files. Mark Epstein, Jeffrey Epstein's brother, came out yesterday and said they're cleaning the files. They're purging all the stuff of Trump and Republicans out of there. Even in that case, I regret to inform you, you're not going to get to see the full unredacted Epstein file.
All right, so then he also says something about Mark Epstein there, who has more recently, I believe in the past couple of days, been making noise about Epstein and what was supposedly in these files and these emails and stuff. Bondi kept repeating, follow the law, protecting victims. Ongoing investigation, and there's already been like a glimpse of some of these redacted files and what they'll look like, but it's just so the speed of it is kind of crazy. And then Trump has already said to he gave them 30 days, so that's a pretty quick timeline. I also remember there was something about a meeting between Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, and somebody else in that, orbit about this. And so that must be where they, came to this conclusion about how they're going to handle this. So they have a plan internally about how they're going to release this, what's going to be released, and essentially how they're, because all of them serve Trump, remember that. And that's what especially Kash Patel has supposedly flip-flopped on. Here, I'll play this CNN segment so you can actually hear it.
Trump has refused to release the files for so long.
Well, I think it's an obvious question, not just for me. It's just there's things in there he doesn't want people to see. I mean, seems to be obvious.
So in the emails that we got last week from the House Oversight Committee, which obviously I'll point out, came from your brother's estate, right? They are.
Thank you, Cadillac. We love you. We love you. We love you.
At the DOJ, those emails from your brother's estate showed your brother talking about Donald Trump a lot when Trump was president.
Maybe the Situation Room. I feel like that was
sorts of conversations.
Maybe something else.
Were you surprised by that at all?
Because I remember hearing about that too, but I don't think that's what I'm referring to.
There was about Trump.
No, not whatsoever. Jeff and Donald were very good friends through the 90s, and I don't know exactly when it ended, maybe 2004 or something, but they were really good friends. They used to fly in each other's planes. Like I said, they say Donald was on Jeff's plane like 7 times, but I question, have they checked Donald's flight logs from those days to see how many times Jeffrey was on his plane? Because I know Jeffrey told me on a number of occasions that he flew up or flew down with Donald on his plane. So they were, and Donald was in Jeffrey's office quite a bit back in the 90s. They were good friends. Everybody around knew that.
And, you've said that, and so have many others who knew both of them very well in that long period where it seems that they were very close friends. Mark, here's some of what Trump actually said just yesterday about why that ended, why he had a falling out with your brother. Here's what Trump said.
Hell yeah, Cadillac is the GOAT.
As far as the Epstein
Oh, okay,
files,
you're right. Yes, because Bobert was
I had nothing to do with
involved in
Jeffrey
that. Okay,
Epstein.
let
I
me
threw
look
him
at
out
that.
of my club many years ago because I thought he was a sick pervert. But I guess I turned out to be right.
All right, I have a couple questions for you about this, Mark. But first, this. You say that your brother told you something very different about their falling out than what Trump says?
Well, it's not that he told me. Steve Bannon was doing interviews with Jeffrey and taping them. And Jeffrey had sent me a Dropbox link to one of those interview sessions. And on that tape, Jeffrey clearly stated that he stopped hanging out with Trump when he realized Trump was a crook. That's a direct quote from Jeffrey. He stopped hanging out with Trump when he realized Trump was a crook.
I heard that quote.
So that leads me then
I heard
to
that
the
quote
second
recently.
question, which
And that sounds ridiculous to me. This is the article about the Situation Room meeting. So this is a meeting that happened on Wednesday, and as far as I know, this is when they were still trying to threaten members of the House to not pass this bill. But what changed is all of a sudden, Trump decided that he was going to encourage the House to pass the bill. And that is when all of a sudden all this momentum is behind it, where it passed the House, the Senate, and got signed by the president in a couple days, or really in the course of a day. So that seems to be, whatever the substance of the Situation Room meeting, that does not seem to be that does not seem to be involved or related to this sudden decision to release the files. Yeah, Mackie, that's kind of what I'm saying. It's silly to me that he's worried about Trump being a crook. It just, I don't know, that's ringing a little bit hollow to me. Watching your shit always come out like you could have done it better. What is it? I don't know. I'm just doing criticism, Kuna. Everybody can stand to be criticized, including myself. But yeah, so when it comes to this, I still don't feel like there's a clear sense of what the difference is now versus when he was, for example, pressuring Lauren Boebert to not release these files, to vote against it because he needed one defection. But then after Trump went out and told them all that they should vote it through, all of a sudden it had it passed with like one person. There's one singular person who voted against releasing it. So that's where it's still not clear to me exactly what the plan is for releasing this stuff. Aaron Roberts, you've never seen a piece of legislation pass this fast. Yeah, it's coordinated, and especially given that Trump was pushing against it as hard as he could days ago. So obviously that effort failed, and they decided that the only thing that they can do is just go with it, because he probably caught a glimpse of what it looks like for himself to be the one who's constantly pushing against releasing it. So yeah, Clay Higgins. And he said this is a violation of everything about how law investigation and blah, blah, blah. He's the only one. He's really stuck on that. So either he has some serious principle about that specifically and nothing else, or he's in that shit. There is a world where even though they fast track the release of this shit, there's still a lot of Trump stuff in there, and they try to redact as much as they can. And it's possible that what they plan to do is try to throw as much of the blame on Democrats as possible. And there may even be a calculation on his part that, like, well, there's people in there who are even more implicated than me. Although as of right now, I don't know that I can see that. Because Epstein seemed to be associated with a lot of people, including Steve Bannon, Larry Summers, chatting back and forth with them. But Trump seems to be one of the only ones that he was like friends with, and also they seem like they were in business together. I've said this before, but it seems like they might have kind of had parallel businesses, and that's what this whole thing about, you know, Jeffrey is stealing girls from Mar-a-Lago, and that's why they had a falling out. I mean, it sounds like that means there's more going on at Mar-a-Lago than just whatever. And then there was somebody talking about recently about how Trump's whole thing is essentially that he's just a front man for money laundering. So he's willing to put his name on a building because he's a celebrity. He can pretend he owns it, and meanwhile, there's all kinds of criminal activity and money moving behind the scenes through the actual building, and he just has to be the front man for it. And so it seems likely to me that that's what Trump has built his whole career off of, and whatever the nature of his relationship with Epstein probably has something to do with that. Trump had Epstein over for Thanksgiving. They were boys. I didn't hear about the Thanksgiving shit. Might have had the island built. No, but it just seems like they're somehow they were financially related as well as being friends, or like competition. It seems to me that they had competing businesses, and maybe they shared, you know, whatever you would call the girls that they were abusing. They shared that, you know, assets, I suppose, as grim as it is to say that. And, you know, at some point there was a split in the business that, you know, they went separate ways, or whatever the agreement that they had with Trump at Mar-a-Lago fell apart. You know, Epstein hints that Trump, you know, what did he say? That of course Trump knows about the girls. He said it to Ghislaine directly and stuff like that. Theft of a human. Trump assumes a form of ownership, which is clear admission of his moral character. Contractor. I think they were both. Yeah, I think Epstein was a contractor. But I don't fucking know. I don't know how you would like distinguish those different things. I think they were both contractors. Hurry up and pass it after they redacted the stuff about Trump and friends. Yeah, and I mean, maybe they did. Maybe it's as simple as that, is they're just gonna put out a bunch of shit, and the stuff that's redacted is gonna be anything related to Trump, and the stuff that's not redacted is gonna be anything related to Democrats. And I mean, is that gonna work? I don't know. Yeah, they were pimps. I think they were both pimps, but the nature of that relationship is where I think, you know, we don't really know. Coming. Epstein survivors put together their list. Otherwise, everything is suspect. Well, there's a decent amount of them that are also saying that Trump had nothing to do with it, or that was when they specifically mentioned Trump's name, that they say he did nothing wrong. And like specifically they mentioned that. And to me, that seems like there's just something suspicious about that. And also, that's what Epstein himself said. He said the fact that Trump is the only one that someone like Virginia Giuffre, I believe was who he was referencing, hasn't said something about Trump is because something's off there. He said Trump spent hours alone with her, maybe not her specifically, but it seems like that's who she was talking about. And he was the only one that hasn't been mentioned publicly by victims. And so what that seems like is that Trump was involved in the investigation somehow, and the girls who were also involved in the investigation knew that, and so they knew not to say Trump's name, that's like part of it. That's part of the deal. And it's possible that they feel some genuine gratitude toward him because him being an informant, if that is the case, is allowing the files to ultimately come to light. But that doesn't change the fact that he was in fact involved. He was there. And what it keeps coming back to is that American and Israeli intelligence is right at the center of this. And that's ultimately why it's this huge national security issue we can't let people know. And so it's possible that the main thing that is being obscured is not only Epstein's relationship with that type of intelligence operation, but Trump's and how that fits into the story. Yeah, and then Virginia killed herself after being one of those girls who specifically said, you know, I would not kill myself, and if I kill myself, something's wrong. According to Peter Thiel, Epstein was just a top-tier tax guru. But yeah, I mean, that could be related to all sorts of things. Yeah, but I don't think any of the people who are spilling about Epstein are I think at this point any NDAs are out the window. But it's more likely that they have an agreement with law enforcement that they've worked with over the years to not mention Trump, or to specifically say that he didn't do anything wrong or whatever. But then the question becomes, is that even an agreement that would or could exist, and would it hold up if that is true? Is that something that would continue to protect him? Because all we've seen so far is these emails about Trump showing that there was something going on involving Trump, and he was right at the center of all of it. So what files would there be that we could get about that? Obviously, that's going to be the first shit they want to redact. But I'm wondering if there might be some things in there that genuinely do make him look worse. Like if it ends up being a mistake for him to release all this stuff, because similar with the emails, there's nothing he can do to make it look like he wasn't somehow tied in with all of this. I was referring to the actual essay cases about Trump from the past. Yeah, that's possible. The birthday card is weird. I don't know what the birthday card tells. Let me throw this article up. We'll keep reading a little bit. Once Trump signs legislation, 30-day clock will begin within the DOJ must release them. What does that mean? What will the documents contain? Will Pam Bondi-led DOJ seek to obfuscate or block some of the trove from being released? Will any of this satisfy a public hungry for every detail? The DOJ has acknowledged that it holds tens of thousands of pages of Epstein-related material, and some judges have already signaled that some of the most sought-after material will remain locked away despite the mandate from Congress. Okay, so there's judges that have said, based on previous decisions, that a lot of that stuff is going to remain locked away, so that's important. Senior writer for Politico, what to expect. Why would a senior writer from Politico know what to expect about this? Politico spoke with senior writer for Politico. Wow, thank you, Politico. I do not think it's a good idea to dump this raw investigative material in the public domain. References to the president. However, we have a fairly robust body of public reporting. How that relationship broke down, when or why. I think the American people deserve first and foremost to know what is in there. What? I mean, yeah. That's not what's going to get put out. Who is this guy? Criminal misconduct, highly embarrassing, equally morally offensive conduct. Yeah, the Larry Summers thing was crazy. Larry Summers is stepping down. Focused on Democrats. Exact same Justice Department. There was nothing else to investigate. Okay, this is dumb. The investigation into Democrats is not real, and we know because the same Justice Department told us there was nothing to investigate. That's dumb. What is this guy talking about? Obviously, what that means is that they're going to go after whoever they can for whatever they can that's not a Republican. And before, they only said that there was no investigation because they wanted everybody to stop talking about it. People demanded that they continue investigating and continue releasing stuff. And so now, in order to satisfy that hunger, they're going to try to flip the narrative onto Democrats specifically and only investigate that. Really not rocket science. I don't understand what this need to be like, well, actually, that's impossible that you could do an investigation. That contradicts the fact that you previously said you didn't want to do an investigation. I mean, that type of flip-flopping is not even like just specific to the Trump administration. I feel like they all do that. There's like no question that they're going to do that. Oh yeah, thanks Cake Slap. This... You're gonna find something. Red conference for the Saudi prince and a press briefing. Yeah, but all of our presidents have been very positive towards Saudi Arabia. It's not really a departure, unfortunately. Yeah, I don't know what the hell that bullshit was, Aaron, but you know, I guess they're on the beat. This is that illustrate his super creep vibes. Yeah, but so much of that has been out there for so long. Birthday card, yeah. Hey, Moldy Milo, thank you for the gifted memberships. Thank you so much, appreciate that. Corey Robinson, much love for the gifted subs. And trafficking, right? This is an article right here about Clay Higgins, that guy who, the only person in the House who voted against it. Apparently he was like maybe caught up with some sex trafficking ring. District Director for U.S. Rep Clay Higgins at the center of trafficking ring. Consume multiple beers on camera. What a guy. Is this the same guy? I think it is. There it is. Crime Stopper videos went viral. Among other things, that he had arrested thousands of men during his stints with the tiny Opelousas. Tendered his resignation after being charged and arrested with pandering, which is a euphemism for human trafficking. Expansive 17-month-long investigation. Damn, massage parlors and all kinds of shit. So Prunty was the guy who was charged. And I guess that was the dude who was saying. Gia. Photograph suggests that Gia and Prunty were more than roommates. Okay, so I guess this was the person who was running the ring. This was the person who got arrested, I believe is what I'm seeing here. Yeah, this is Prunty. And this is the person who was running massage parlors, I suppose. And Higgins, so this was a guy who worked for Higgins. Little to do with Hugo's cameo performance. This will work itself out. Yeah, okay, so that's the kind of guy that he's got. Oh, I didn't show you guys this article. Yeah, so this article is about Clay Higgins, who is the person who voted against the release of the Epstein files, the one person in the House who voted against it, and a person who worked for him was caught in a human trafficking ring. So that's the Clay Higgins guy. And this is a dude who worked for him named Prunty, I believe. And then this was a woman who I guess was running massage parlors, or was one of the... She may have just been one of the victims, actually. And so that's how they caught him. So anyway, long story short, the one guy who voted against it in the House is just generally against information about sex trafficking being released to the public. That's what it seems like to me. I don't know, maybe the reason the names don't seem real is because, like, the kind of person you have to be to run for Congress and want to be in Congress, you just got to be a little fucked up, I guess. His behavior has been so erratic, Ham Slam, and it's like, it is very interesting to see. So like there's something deep in it, you know what I mean? And that's why I feel like even if they do this redacted thing, it's still not gonna go away. Rather than going from release the files to protect the files. Yeah, they should have done it earlier. That's kind of what I was thinking too, is like, what changed? Because if all of a sudden there's a plot to just redact everything that has to do with Trump, why wasn't that just always the plan? Why did they only just now decide to do that? Doesn't make a lot of sense. Yeah, definitely the guiltiest man alive. So, I guess we'll see in the next 30 days what comes out. It'll be interesting to see if the base wants to keep talking about it or if they stop talking about it. We'll read this one. I don't know if I see myself running for office. I think I see myself doing more outside organizing. But I appreciate it though. Comptroller is interesting. I don't know enough about that position. Correcting the Justice Department. Yeah, this shit passed so fast, dude. It's actually nuts. I have just signed the bill to release the Epstein files. Everything is like WWE to this guy, bro. He literally just thinks like that. He just built up all this anticipation. He's like, I have just signed the bill to release the Epstein files. That's how he pictures it in his head. 30 days. Including the investigation into his death by suicide under my presidency, which I could have investigated literally the first time, let alone because of this bill, before this bill. Do I think there's anything in the files, Ham Slam, that could get people like that to stop supporting? Yes. Do I think there's going to be anything released in this round? Almost certainly not. But that would, I feel like there's probably likely to be things in there that keep people asking questions because they're probably gonna redact just enough that it spurs more questions, and people are going to keep talking about it. And I just feel like Trump is so deeply wrapped into it that he will eventually, like anything that's juicy that comes out is going to point to Trump somehow, some way. He's just too close to all of it. Do I think Trump will go to jail? Almost certainly not. I cannot see a scenario where Trump goes to jail. I definitely can't see a scenario where Trump orders the release of information that leads to him going to jail. If that's what happens, I will reconcile with God, and I will establish a firm faith in our Lord and Savior and Creator. But I made the same deal when Trump got sick with COVID, and my prayers were not answered. So yes, if Trump releasing the Epstein files leads to information that gets Trump arrested and sent to jail, then I will eat my hat. But that is almost certainly not going to happen. If he was going to go to jail, I genuinely think it would have been before this term. I think we lost our chance to see him in jail. Yeah, Cadillac, I don't think there's any chance. I think that was some of the files landscape, not all of them. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer's in chat, everybody. Merry Christmas. Definitely don't think anybody should be holding God to faith that Mr. Trumpy Trump is going to jail. Megaban, who's saying that? People on the left are saying that, or people on the right? Sorry for coughing into the mic. Yeah. The bill details a host of potential items that must be released, but proves exceptions. And so I believe what the bill says they can't do is they can't choose not to release something because it's embarrassing, political, or sensitive, but they can redact things if they're related to victims. That's what the bill said. Doesn't mean that Trump ultimately, probably the reason that he decided to push this through is because his administration does have control of what gets released. And honestly, now that I think about it, a likely outcome of this is just like everything else with Trump's policy. He violates the law with what his administration chooses to do, goes to court over it, and then it just turns into a prolonged court battle. I would say that's the most likely thing to happen. And perhaps that will end up being even worse for Trump because it will just continue looking like he's hiding something, but it would also prolong everything that is happening. I would never marry Christmas. No, Amir, it's like having like a Merry Christmas. You know what I mean? Like a happy Christmas. You know Christmas like the day with like the presents. I wish he would get some jail time. No, there's just no chance, bro. I don't see any way that we could, at the end of this, both be politically in a situation where it's possible for Trump to be charged and sent to jail, because it would have to be new charges, unless the Georgia thing gets going again, which is possible. And also Trump would have to still be alive at that point, and he would have to be walking away from the second administration. Who knows what that's going to look like, knowing full well that he could be charged and sent to jail, which is he's definitely going to try to pull something off. Like, I thought he was going to try to get away the first time, but he didn't. But I feel like if he leaves office again under the type of conditions where he might go to jail, I see no way. No, Amira, baby. Merry doesn't make me happy. I'm saying, like, Merry means happy. You know what I mean? Like, have a happy Christmas. You know what I mean? Cadillac sent 10 more gifted memberships. Thank you so much, Cadillac. Growing the community. I see a lot of my chatters here getting their memberships. That is much appreciated. Much love to you, Cadillac. Major supporter over there. We're killing it. By victims aren't. I think there was more to that. Patron saint of pedophiles is crazy. Oh, yeah, so... Yeah, let's read this article about Larry Summers stepping down. Fuck this guy. Cadillac is the best. Mega Man is a super regular chatter and a commenter on the pods, I believe. So appreciate that, Cadillac. I'm sure he'll be happy with his membership. No, baby, not like I'm spending Christmas with someone named Mary. Like I'm having a Merry Christmas. You know what I mean? Like me and Christmas are merry. I mean, my Christmas is merry. You know what I mean? Charlie's be lush. No. Everyone did it. That is probably the correct conclusion. Thank you, Biden. Thank you, Biden, for always speaking with clarity. We gang now. That's true. That's facts. And I just want to thank Biden for always speaking clearly and cogently and leading our country in such a positive direction. Like really, the thing you can say about Joe Biden is he left our country in better shape than when he got it. His goal was to make it so that he staved off Trumpian fascism and handed the torch to a younger generation. And that's exactly what he did. He did not hand the presidency immediately back to Trump, but he passed the torch. Cadillac, you're one of my most active members. I appreciate you so much. Yeah, I was wondering, Aaron, I was wondering why ChatGPT, it seems like they're shameless. I don't know why the fuck they got rid of them. Biden just did a great job and accomplished all the things that he set out to do. The infrastructure bill is halfway decent, but nah, Biden sucked ass. The whole point of Biden's presidency, as he said, was to move America forward to the next generation, and he just did the opposite. He just handed the country back to the exact same person that he beat in 2020. And yes, all we had to do was have a real primary, and that wouldn't have happened. I don't know if I was being clearly sarcastic enough, Charlize, but I agree with you. Summers cannot be trusted to advise our nation's politicians, Harvard, or anywhere else. Should end their association with Summers given the relationship with Epstein. He was, Larry Summers was out there for Biden as well. He was, consulting for Biden. Yeah, skipping the primary was fucking crazy. The fact that everybody went along with Joe Biden wanting to run again was fucking... And also, I just don't think he was a very good president. Sucked. In most ways that matter. He got some decent bills passed. But, you know, it's just impossible not to compare him to Trump because Trump preceded him and then came after him. And Trump is just a much more consequential president in every way. So it's hard not to look at Biden like, what the fuck? Like, you could have done so much and you did so little. And now the boat is being rocked by somebody who is like, you know, a complete maniac. And that, in my view, Biden was the only job Biden had was to prevent that from happening. Prevent America being handed over to fascism. And he failed. He should have cut, he should have broken Joe Manchin's ankles. I think that's what he should have did. Kamala, I think, could have done better, but I think she just said the wrong things on the campaign trail. She just didn't feel the need to, you know, she tried this like run to the center, try to steal the Trump voters strategy, and it just failed miserably. Because Trump brings out people that don't vote, and Kamala and the Democrats should have focused on doing that same thing, bringing out people that normally don't vote, that would vote for them. But they're too cowardly to run that type of campaign. That's cool, Skeeter. He definitely did a lot of infrastructure projects across the country. I still think that bill was a little bit underwhelming, but I mean, it was something for sure. Ever since Bernie was an obvious better choice than Hillary, but the DNC was like, nah. I mean, the blue, as far as I can see, the blue, no matter who, is only an answer to I don't want to vote for Democrats because they shafted Bernie Sanders. I don't even know if I've ever heard it said other than that. It's just a mantra to say Trump is so bad that we have to vote for whoever is the Democrat. And the reality is that, like, people did that. In 2016, people did that. Hillary or Bernie, you know, campaigned for Hillary, and a lot of Bernie's voters got on board, and it just wasn't enough because they weren't running powerful enough campaigns. So, you know, the vote blue no matter who thing doesn't come up when you're talking about, you know, Zohran Mamdani in the general NYC election. It's like, it's not even just that it's hypocritical of them, it's just that they don't even answer to it. You know what I mean? They don't have any, there's nobody to say, you said vote blue no matter who, that means you have to. Nobody's holding them accountable to that. It doesn't matter. It's just a mantra. It's just a mantra to say, we're gonna put up corporate Democrats and you should vote for them. No reason at all is a reason. Had the most corporate donations, wasn't it close to 2 billion? I don't know if that's maybe that's accurate. I don't quite remember the framing on that, but I mean, Trump definitely had more. Trump raised more by far. I don't think it's true that Kamala had more corporate donations. She might have had a higher amount of corporate donations or something like that. Bo knows. Yeah. Shaves, you like the last one? Yeah, I'll be dropping another video, not later this morning, but tomorrow morning. I'll have another one out. Yeah, Kamala's doing a terrible job. She's still doing a terrible job. Corporate wing of Democrats didn't want Bernie at all. He had momentum, but the media and party were aligning against him. Totally different context and details. Yeah. I'm the best out. I'm the GOAT. 6 a.m. in New York. It's 3 a.m. here right now. I'm in Los Angeles. Found some New York Times reporting on Epstein stuff. Let's see if I can read it in. Block me. Keep using this window. president sought to take credit for the legislation, despite pressure to kill it. Many documents would stay confidential. Trump's signature does not guarantee the release of all the files. Significant exceptions, including a provision protecting continuing investigations. That could be why he opened another investigation. And I have heard people say that they're gonna do this investigation, but then they're gonna say we can't release certain things because of ongoing investigations. Passage as a result of directive. Mike Johnson apparently said that he hoped the Senate would amend the bill. I don't know specifically what he was hoping would be amended, but it did not get amended. Then it just passed it as it was. Only became clear after Trump had lost a political battle. So Trump tried to prevent this sort of coalescing of politicians joining forces, was not able to, and that's when he decided to flip on it, essentially when it became kind of inevitable that it was at least going to pass the House. But I don't see why he didn't just try to stop it up in the Senate. But maybe it's because the Senate is a little bit higher stakes, and so he felt like that would make him look bad. Repeated calls for transparency and action ignored. This is one of the victims. The first survivor. Public tens of thousands of pages. Read to Epstein. Nothing will satisfy Mr. Trump's critics. That's probably true. Years. Victims. So several exceptions that are similar to the reasons Pam Bondi withheld most of the files. Under the legislation, Trump administration may withhold records that identify victims, obviously, or are otherwise classified. Otherwise classified is load-bearing here. Also allows records to be withheld if they jeopardize an active federal investigation. So they open an investigation into Democrats and refuse to release anything related to Republicans because of it. Justice Department has already said the files it withheld contained images of victims. Democrats mentioned in some of the emails. No talk of Steve Bannon. I want somebody to ask Trump about Steve Bannon. I want to hear Trump say that Steve Bannon is gross. Zach Polanski, left of labor and actually creating a leftist platform with main focus on welfare and other economic progressive policies. What is he? Is he a politician? Emo? Smash that like button. Smash that motherfucking like button. They've probably destroyed a lot of them. They've probably destroyed a lot of them, and so they're willing to release whatever they have now. I'm hoping that the reality of this situation is that Trump hates the fact that he has to go along with this now, but he's deciding to do it anyway. I hope that Trump is still incredibly nervous about what might come out, despite the fact that he is the one greenlighting this. That would be the best possible situation. No, I haven't heard of Polanski, but I'll look into him. Reform first, Green second. How are you doing today, Lunta? That's cool, Lunta. No worries. You don't gotta be active. You busy? Doing whatever you doing? This is back to the article about Larry Summers. Positive populist message on the left. What's the field look like? What type of chance does he have? Summers approached Epstein for romantic advice. Good Lord. It's already beginning to sound needy. Ugh. Great regrets. Why the fuck has Larry Summers been going around for the last 5 years doing interviews, talking about economic policy, advising the Biden administration? I mean, there's definitely some questions to be had there because they had access to this shit. I think Trump signed an order on that. It was going through the courts on the Department of Education. I don't think he has authority to just shut it down like that. And the last I heard, the courts stepped in and said you can't just shut down the Department of Education. And so, fuck you. But I think that's where it's at, if I'm not mistaken. To purge anything that would actually implicate Trump in any real way. I thought that I heard somebody saying that they were doing that immediately when Trump came back to office, getting rid of as much of that shit as they can. Labor around 15%, conservatives around 16%. But he's green. Okay. So, I mean, do you think he has a real shot to win? Or are you just hoping for the best? What Shaves? What do you mean? What's the ratio of me dropping a song? What do you mean by that? Like how often I do? Greens have 4 seats in Parliament. Polanski may win, but no power. That's my concern about a third party in America as well. I've said that before. That it's like, unless you have a meaningful block of Congress, like a caucus that can actually make a dent, just having a few members in there that are green is not really gonna. But maybe I'm wrong. I'd like to be wrong about that. Up there. Read this one. Got some people on. Give them some information. Yeah, so this is an article about the investigation into Democrats. I don't know. People were saying the Epstein files itself was a distraction. People were saying everything else was a distraction from the Epstein files. And then now the files are coming out and are likely to continue to be a distraction from everything else for a while. So does that mean the Epstein files were the distraction, or does that mean he failed to distract us from the Epstein files? Yeah, Kieran, I totally do. No question about it. Those found nothing in the Epstein files that warranted further inquiry. Who are these Democrats that they're supposed to be doing these investigations of? Labor has lots of seats, but would lose a lot if they were to hold an election. Labor has lots of seats. That's interesting. So what's the strategy, not just to take more power, but to utilize power? Like, what can Green do with power right now? Distraction from the authoritarian takeover. But some people were saying the authoritarian takeover was a distraction from this. So, I mean, I think it's more so that these things are just going on at the same time. How do we make that happen? Aaron, I mean, I got to just keep going. Definitely you guys spreading the word and talking about me whenever you can. And like, you know, if you have people in your life that you can send my videos to that like maybe they're a fan of somebody that I talk about, you know, send them the video, spread it as much as you can, hype it up, you know, keep engaging. It's, you know, these things take time. I'm not necessarily worried about becoming huge overnight. Obviously there's a sense of urgency because of the way things are, but you know, just, yeah, keep pushing it. Like I keep pushing it. What I would really love is to be able to just do this full time. Like that's obviously the goal. Because if I could drop like 2 videos a day, as well as doing consistent live streams and consistent music, that I think would be like a huge difference. So, you know, it just takes time. But the more you guys engage and spread what I do, then the more, as I keep doing it, I'll grow faster. You know what I mean? And I would love, one way that you guys can really help me is as I do videos that are not necessarily about some other commentator or something. Those are the videos that I really want to get out there. Videos about like just the news and, oh yeah, bro, and just like ideas, you know what I mean? I don't always just want to talk about like media analysis, but that's just the easiest way to reach people, you know? So if I was able to put videos out there that are more conceptual or just talking about like broader subjects, strikes that happen overseas or labor movements or the nature of elections or, you know, deep political stories, I would like to be able to get stuff out there that, you know, is more focused on that. But it just takes time. Hell yeah. Thank you, Cadillac. Don't worry, Shaves, I'll never forget the real ones. Greater transparency. I'm wondering, who are these Democratic representatives that he's trying to put this shit on? Documents have been cherry-picked. Trump's air travel. See, this is what tells me that they had some kind of like rival business, like maybe a business partnership that turned into rival businesses in the future, or like as things developed. The real twos. I like that joke. Don't worry, Charlize, I'm down with that joke. Yeah, go stream Pressure by Eb&Flow, spelled just like how Amira spelled it in chat there. EB&FLOW. Go check out Pressure on all streaming platforms if you want to support. Getting the music out there is a good way too to help me grow, just because it makes it more of like a cultural thing, you know, instead of just political content. It's like I feel like the music has that, a little bit more of that like cultural impact to it. At least that's the goal, so that always helps. Yeah, I make my own beats, Aaron. Under no indication they'll bring it up for a vote. Well, we're past that. What do you do, Charlize? This is an NPR article from an hour ago, although I think this is mostly stuff we already know now. New releases from Jeffrey Epstein shine additional light on the array. People who kept ties to the disgraced financier. Circles did not entirely close to him after he pled guilty. Emails released. The people who consulted with Epstein rarely acknowledged the severity of the crimes, though simply corresponding with Epstein does not implicate individuals of anything other than cavorting with the sex criminal, including Noam Chomsky. I haven't mentioned this, but yes, Noam Chomsky is deeply implicated in this stuff too. He wrote a letter of recommendation for Epstein. This was after Epstein was convicted of being a predator. Our boy Noam Chomsky was still pretty tight with him. And if I recall correctly, Noam Chomsky was asked about this not that long ago, and he was pretty defensive about it. He said, you know, my relationship or a private dinner that I had with Epstein is nobody else's business. And, you know, definitely like not denying that he had a real, I don't think they were friends, but I think they had a relationship for sure. And I think Epstein fancied himself as an intellectual. So in some cases he was like, you know, trying to challenge or disprove Chomsky's theories and stuff. It's okay if you go to sleep, Amira. Love you. Yeah, totally, Charlize. You can send me a beat. Bandcamp plug. If you, Charlize, if you sent a link in chat, I don't think I can see it. I don't think it lets you send links. But I would, if you sent me beats, I would definitely check that out. Living Thespians seems seedy. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of, you know, intellectuals mixed up in this. I still haven't seen anything about any Democrats other than like Bill Clinton. We already knew about Bill Clinton. I mean, who else? What other Democrats? I guess that's the most high profile name, so that's the one we keep hearing. I'm sure that there are like smaller like senators and stuff. But in terms of Democrats who are relevant right now, what Democrats are involved in this? Hell yeah, Mega Man, thanks for tuning in. Charlize, you can see, if you go to my channel, you should be able to find my email or my Instagram in the About section. Just go ahead and send it to one of those. It is different homes. Yeah, so that's why, like, having Noam Chomsky doesn't necessarily directly implicate Noam Chomsky, but it doesn't look great. Like, that's after the conviction. You know what I mean? Epstein was investigated and convicted and had to register as a sex offender already before he was arrested during the Trump administration. So all this stuff about emails that we're getting between him and Steve Bannon, Larry Summers, and also Noam Chomsky, all that was from the period after Epstein was a known sex criminal. Granted, at the time, it was not at the same, he was not known as like an international ringleader at the time, although I assume some people with enough knowledge of him could have kind of figured out that that's what he was doing. But you know, publicly it was more of like an individual thing. But what got him in trouble in that first conviction was that he was like, you know, he had a system where he was going to schools, like high schools, and recruiting girls from there. And that was the behavior that originally got him caught. So it was like, he did get caught doing sex trafficking ring shit, but when it ended up a conviction, it was much more of a slap on the wrist. And that was the sweetheart deal that he got, the famous sweetheart deal that Trump's original Secretary of Labor, I can't remember what his name was right now, Roseberg, something like that. I'm not sure why I'm blanking on his name, but Trump's first Secretary of Labor in his first administration was the Attorney General who gave Epstein a sweetheart deal. And that was when apparently he was the one who said on the record that the reason he did that was because he was told Epstein was intelligence. That was the first investigation, and before Trump's first administration, that led to a conviction of Epstein. And essentially, like, he had like to wear like an ankle bracelet for a while, and was still flying and going about his business. Rosenberg, Acosta, that's who I'm talking about. Acosta, yes. Yeah, Stephen Hawking, that's a weird one. I think Epstein just wanted to be around the smartest intellectuals, you know? I think he like I said, I think he fancied himself that, and he wanted to be surrounded with that and think that he was like on the level with that. So I think it's more about that than the idea that he was somehow, that all of those intellectuals were implicated. I don't see how Stephen Hawking would have been, you know, partaking in the particular types of crimes that Epstein was committing. I mean, it's possible. It's possible. But he definitely just liked to have an extensive Rolodex. Yeah, and then Acosta got a job in Trump's administration. Acosta was fired shortly after that, I believe that, because of the Epstein stuff. When this Epstein stuff first came out, Epstein was still alive. He was being investigated. It was leading up to his arrest. That was when Acosta got pushed out, and all of these questions about Trump and Epstein first started circulating. Yeah, it's going to be heavily redacted. Yeah, Landscape, it is easiest to jump to that conclusion, but the thing is, with Noam Chomsky, like, I don't know, it is a little weird that he was associating with that guy after he had been convicted. You know what I mean? Like, it's weird. This is a powerful fucking sex criminal who is probably throwing money around. It just seems like that. It seems like that's probably why these guys were messing around with him, but also why they shouldn't have been. Dexter victim. Once wagered a Penthouse magazine subscription as the prize for proving their theories. I'm not sure I understand that comment. FDT indeed. Yeah, I hate to admit that Chomsky's a little bit sus. But he is. He, in fact, is. So let's see if there's anything else we can find about this Epstein stuff. Reading out of it. Searching question puts forth provocative ideas. This is what Chomsky said about him. Provocative ideas repeatedly led me to rethink crucial issues. If you're going to play here, you'll have to spend time. Europe by remote doesn't work. I believe he's talking about Europe. Yeah, building a far-right movement. Lots and lots of FaceTime and hand-holding. Europe can be a wife, not a mistress. It's an interesting way of putting it. Larry Summers, documented. I yipped about inclusion. IQ without. They're being anti-woke. Larry Summers was being anti-woke. He was in the anti-woke group chats showing feet. In the week since the latest Epstein emails release, he has resigned. Rumler. Campaign trail. Stonewalled the effort this year. Epstein Files Transparency Act. so funny. Having to try to reclaim the Epstein files is the funniest predicament for a president to be. We got to reclaim this Epstein issue. The prize was a subscription to Penthouse. I mean, I don't know. That's far from the worst thing I've ever heard. I doubt any more information is going to come out about Chomsky, but maybe. But see, that's an interesting question when it comes to Chomsky specifically, because it's not like this is a guy who has a lot of career left in him. You know what I mean? So the idea of supporting him as a figure doesn't really matter. And his body of work is not delegitimized by the fact that he was associated with Epstein. Maybe something about him will come out so bad that it's impossible to look at any of his work without, you know, thinking of what he did, or like somehow it delegitimizes his whole career. But I doubt that. So, you know, it just depends. I doubt anything that incriminating is going to come out about him. If it does, you know, I guess I'll reconsider some things. But ultimately, I mean, his body of work is his body of work. I guess it would be very odd if the guy who spoke on global economic power dynamics to the degree that he did was in fact wrapped up in those, you know, with some of the most powerful and abusive people in the world. That definitely paints a different picture of where Chomsky sits in the global hierarchy of power than I would like to have of him. But no problem, Shaves. That's what I'm here for, is the problem sleepers. Yeah, the way he got defensive about it was strange, and it seems like they had a relationship. You know, I mean, giving him a recommendation letter implies that Epstein did something for him at some point. That could just mean gave him some funding. This was a financier, so he was throwing money around, and intellectuals are unfortunately whores because they need money to fund the shit that they do, and a lot of times nobody's interested in funding it. So it's probably hard to turn down one of the most powerful people in the world who is interested in your work and wants to contribute to it, but there's obviously a downside that comes with that, which is now what you're doing is associated with him. I would say the worst possible thing that I can imagine that I think would be possible to come out about Noam Chomsky, maybe it's worse than I'm thinking, but I would assume that as bad as it could get would be some crucial period of his career or aspect of his work was funded by Epstein or involved in Epstein, in a way that is hard to reckon with. And I don't know, maybe he was a client of Epstein's as well, but we haven't seen any evidence of that. That is important to keep in mind. Kyle Kalinske is late 90s. What do you mean by that, Shaves? You always seem like a more peaceful guy. Cash runs everything around me. Cream, get the money. I think, Charlize, I think when you post links and stuff, you get boinked from the chat. I didn't do anything. I didn't mute you, or I didn't really see any messages you were sending either. So unless I didn't understand when you said your name was, when you said what your name was, then yeah, I don't think any of that showed up. Cadre of intellectuals like to surround himself with so he can feel smart. Yeah, that's what it seems like, Aaron. The defensiveness around it is what's crazy. I don't see why Chomsky wouldn't just say, yeah, I mean, what he did was disgusting. I knew nothing about it. I wouldn't have associated with him. But that's hard for him to say because he had already been convicted once. And, you know, that was, like, probably should have been enough for him to not be associated with him. And so maybe that's why he was defensive. But it just seems to me that that's where Sea Blush. Okay. Can you find that everywhere? Is that only on SoundCloud and Bandcamp, you said? Yeah, Kieran, I mean, I think we all have to be mentally prepared for that. I don't think it's likely that we're going to hear many names that we haven't heard already. That would certainly be the most exciting thing that would come out of this release, is that we hear more names that we haven't heard before. But probably not. Hell yeah, Charlize. Yeah, if you DM me some stuff, I'll check it out. Yeah, I don't think it's likely that we're going to learn a whole lot. But we're probably going to get some detailed stuff. Like what we recently got in these email dumps is detailed shit, you know? Seeing what him and Bannon were talking about with each other and what he was saying about Trump. I mean, it all adds many layers to the narrative. So I have to wonder. They're probably going to try to release as much detailed information about other things as they can, and anything that is involving Trump that does still get out there, they're going to try to obscure it as much as possible. Hassan is going to take Chomsky's position at the U of A here soon. Yeah, probably. Figured he could get more money to have his back after. We're not going to see Trump's name on that shit. You're probably right. You're probably right. But all I'm saying is, if it was possible for them to just redact it all and then put it out, why did it take them so long to decide that's what they were going to do? I guess they just didn't want to get into this shit at all. But, I don't know. It seems to me that Trump probably always felt it was impossible for him to release all these files without causing huge problems for himself. And so that is why he hasn't done it. And it seems like even though he is now fast tracking this release, they're probably just trying to push past it as fast as they can, knowing that if any details get dug into at any certain point, it could lead to some serious problems. And, you know, I think a lot of arrows are going to be pointing back to Trump, even if his name isn't in there. And it's entirely possible that they're going to, you know, that the narrative is going to continue, even if they scrub as much of Trump's shit out of there. But it sucks that Trump's base is going to be so down to just have all of this shit scrubbed, and then, oh wow, look, here's this person's name, here's Barack Obama's name, here's that person's name. Hey, Cadillac, 10 gifted subs. That's what's up. You know, it's possible that Trump's base is going to be appeased by just getting names of other people. But to me, if you want me to be honest, I don't know about people turning on Trump. It seems like Trump's base will kind of vote for him no matter what. But I have seen a decent amount of people on the right who have, it's just like their mind has changed about Trump. And I don't mean in terms of their support for him. I mean in terms of how they view him. I think Trump's behavior on these Epstein files has solidified in a lot of people's mind that he is in fact just one of these creeps who's in on it. And I don't think there's anything he can do to change that image in people's mind now. I don't think that's powerful enough of an image that people have that they're going to all of a sudden abandon Trump. But I do think there's a lot of people in the Trump movement that are ready to move on. They have been convinced that Trump is an old, nasty, you know, piece of shit who's wrapped up in all of this. And, you know, maybe the rest of his presidency from here will will vindicate him in their eyes, because a lot of them, they know how disgusting he is, but they still support him because they support what he's doing with immigration and different things. So, you know, I don't think the support's going to go away, but I think that this has permanently damaged Trump's brand, and that probably isn't going to go away either. And I think people's motivation on the right to be on top of the whatever the conspiracy is, to have their eyes on whatever the major conspiracy is, I think that that is motivating them to not take Trump at face value either. It's a new thread that I'm seeing, where you see more people like Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson that are willing to look at Trump as part of the conspiracy. I don't know why, but probably just because the movement senses that after this presidency, it's time to move on from Trump. And the idea that Trump continues to lead the movement forever is sort of a dying game. But, you know, doesn't mean there's going to be a departure from Trump's leadership, what Trump wants to do while he's president. But I do think that it means that, like, people's excitement and blind faith in Trump is fading a little bit. And at least on the one issue of Epstein, people are willing to hear that, you know, Trump is a creep and a crook, and he's got blood on his hands. They don't want to hear that in any other case, but on this Epstein stuff, something has convinced them a little bit. Softening in the centrist independents and OG conservatives. When you say softening, you mean they're softening in their support for him, or they're softening in criticism of him? Yeah, and then now that this election happened that was all focused on affordability, he's going to try to focus on that. He's doing classic Trump fashion, where he creates a problem by putting these blanket tariffs, and then, we're gonna try to tackle affordability. I'm gonna cut some of these tariffs that I put on, tariffs that have been in place only since I came into office, and that's supposedly gonna solve the problem. That's all they got. That's the only thing that they can do to try to make conditions better. So it's likely that conditions are going to keep getting worse, and it's likely that the Epstein stuff is going to continue to be an avatar of what frustrates people about Trump as conditions in their life get worse, because they might not have the tools to connect Trump and his agenda to the reason their lives aren't going well, because the entire reason they voted for Trump the second time is because he promised them, and they bought the idea that Trump's vision, Trump's ideas, Trump's reactionaryism would help their lives. And so they're probably not going to be able to come to the conclusion that those policies failed, and instead it's going to get tied more into this swamp narrative, which Epstein is now symbolic of, and Trump probably won't be able to get away from that, despite, you know, throwing a bunch of Democrats' names out there. And maybe he will, you know, he could, but I think that his behavior about the issue has left a stain. And it's probably not the last we've seen. Trump is erratic. So just because he's so in favor of this now doesn't mean he's not going to be shady about it in the future. And like I said, one of the possible directions this could go is they try to redact certain things that the bill says they're not allowed to redact. And then that goes to court and becomes a prolonged court battle, just like all of the other Trump policies that violate the law. That's a likely future for where we're going to be hearing about this Epstein stuff. Some of his base are pissed off that he's helping foreigners. Oh yeah, thank you, Kama, for sending 1,000 joules. Like MBS in Argentina, and not to mention Israel. The Israel thing's becoming a real problem for the Republicans. I don't think they expected the base to stand on the idea that they shouldn't be giving money to Israel, but they seem to be. So that, I don't know how the Republicans are going to handle it. I think I know how the Democrats are going to handle it, which is poorly. Republicans seem like they move a little smarter, so they might find a way to publicly abandon Israel. But I don't know. Trump seems so tied in. And the other thing too is, if Israel has leverage over Trump because of the Epstein stuff, well, how does that tie in with this whole file release, right? What up, money longa? Maybe Trump can solve the economic issues by loaning Argentina another $20 billion. Yeah, honestly, if we just give all of our money to Argentina, that's probably going to make everything work fine. Conditions will continue to deteriorate. I don't know if the AI bubble is going to pop. I want it to pop. I was wondering what was going to happen with this NVIDIA earnings call, but it seems like they did better than expected, not worse than expected. So, I don't know. Like, what does it mean that the AI bubble is going to pop? Is that really going to happen? I feel like I see them establishing themselves too much in too many sectors. Doesn't mean it won't pop, but some of it seems more, I don't know, like it has staying power. Like the profitability of ChatGPT or OpenAI, for example, that doesn't seem even remotely possible for that to be a viable company. But this whole thing where they are just selling these like chips and data centers that are, you know, swallowing huge amounts of electricity, and like they're building those all over the place, and that infrastructure is getting incorporated into like the broader you know, economy of America and industries of America. So that I don't see necessarily just going away because the bubble pops, but I don't know enough about economics to know. Yeah, I'm waiting. I'm waiting and waiting for the bubble to pop, and meanwhile, it seems like AI is just taking up more and more space. And in some ways, it's not doing as well. In most ways, it's not doing as well as they thought it would, but it is also definitely making progress. So it's like it continues making progress at this completely unviable pace, and yet, so far, the pace has not collapsed. The you know, the house of cards has not collapsed. So if they're able to keep making progress, then that could end up proving their theory that if they just shove infinite money into the project for as long as it takes to become what do you call it, like an indispensable, you know, part of the economy, similar to like what Uber did, or even these like Lime schooners and shit. It's like you have a completely unprofitable, unviable business model, but as long as you can keep providing the service for long enough that people get addicted to it, then all of a sudden it becomes viable. And it does seem like they're leaning on the more addictive qualities of the AI stuff. And I mean, I would like to think that's not going to sustain it, but given that we are a country that's, you know, seems to survive off of like the drug trade and gambling apps and like different, you know, like sex addiction services and stuff, it just seems like that's some of the most reliable money to be made anywhere in the economy, because you're legally allowed to do it in America. And so, you know, I don't know, if that becomes the main bread and butter of the AI companies, then maybe that means they won't go anywhere. Yeah, I'm worried about the AI companies becoming too big to fail. Seems to me they're already pretty close. Yeah, ChatGPT seems to me to be just like a completely evil, you know, entity. Yeah, it's incestuous is the perfect word for it. Most of the industries collapse first. Lunta, I think maybe. I don't know if the industries... There are certain industries that it's trying to prop up that if AI is not as viable as they keep telling us it will be, then those industries would collapse. But I don't know. I think it's more likely that the AI companies and the companies that like rely on them for their business model, that those would collapse, and that I think that would damage other parts of the economy, but not necessarily make them collapse. Yeah, government bailouts, as always. Too important to fail is the new too big to fail. Yeah. Or just, you know, it's just there. Like, that's exactly what Uber did. You know, it was a non-profitable business model. And now Waymo's doing it, where they have these self-driving cars, and it's only possible because they're not making money. And the only reason they're able to charge less than than Uber does is not only because they don't have to pay the drivers, but because they're operating at a loss. And they think that if they can replace that space in the market share, then people will have no choice but to pay more and more, and then eventually that'll just become the norm, which is exactly what happened with Uber. So the question is, like, how many iterations of the economy is that method going to work for? I hope it collapses too. Money for nothing, destined to fail. Yeah, I hope they're destined to fail. I don't know if they are, but that would be cool. It's what I would like to be the case. All right, let's read some more about this. Within 30 days of Trump signing the Epstein Transparency Act, Attorney General is supposed to make all unclassified records available in a searchable and downloadable format. That's cool. Individuals named or referenced in connection with criminal activities. Plea deals and decisions not to charge Epstein for his other crimes. Material, including more than 300 gigabytes of data and physical evidence. The bill from Congress says yeah, and the thing is, it's been working. That smoke and mirrors method has been working. It seems to dominate the entire economy. So, like, that's where the whole bubble is gonna have to pop. Yeah, I'm in Los Angeles and they have the Waymos. I don't take that shit. And then the fucking one of the heads of Waymo just said recently that they that it's inevitable that deaths from Waymos, from self-driving cars, are going to come soon, and that they're already preparing for that. So they're preparing their legal strategy for when inevitably somebody gets killed by a self-driving car or in a self-driving car. Because they know that even if that happens, there's going to be lawsuits and shit that try to tank the company, but as long as the company keeps going and keeps viable in some way, it keeps providing a process or a product that people are buying, then there's going to still be investors, and those investors are going to keep it afloat. And if anything, the controversy is going to make it a more attractive company to those investors, and it's just never going to go away. And all of the economic and material harm is just going to happen because it's going to be floated by capital. Oh yeah, Lunta, have a good one. No, I don't have any merch up right now, but I'm gonna have it back up soon with stickers and hats and stuff. What up, Boudica? Damn, it killed a bodega cat? That's fucked up. Hell yeah, Lunta, I'm definitely listening. Yeah, it's so funny that it's so funny that Waymo beat Tesla to the punch, isn't it? How did they even do that? Tesla was trying to make that their thing. There's no more bodegas and so what's your point? You're saying there was no bodega cat? That's all a conspiracy? Tesla is run by a moron. Yeah, but they've done, in many ways, Tesla has done the exact same thing successfully, where they make something that's not viable. And, you know, same thing. He just funds it through government contracts and investors. And that's why, by the way, I've been saying this for years, that's why Elon is so used to just going out there and just lying about things. And saying Neuralink is going to do this, and the Hyperloop is going to do this, and we're going to be at Mars by 2020, and blah, blah, blah. He says that to get people excited so that he can drum up interest from investors. That's the whole reason. And it works. It's kept his companies afloat and made them essentially permanent, you know, within the last 10 years or so. But when it comes to Musk and Tesla, they successfully turned the Cybertruck into a thing, which is ridiculous. The Cybertruck is completely impractical, makes no sense. I don't know why anyone would want to drive it. And at least being in LA, I mean, you see them all the time. They sell enough of those things, or at least have gotten enough of them off the shelf to make it, you know, a thing that exists that we all just have to deal with. We all just have to accept that Cybertrucks exist. So maybe the technological feat behind Cybertruck is like doable with somebody like Musk, you know, being annoying at every step of the way. Not to mention the fact that he was the one who designed the whole stupid thing in the first place. But also, you know, it may be that the self-driving cars are not something you can build with a guy like Elon Musk running the company. But I don't know. It just seems like nothing matters. It seems like you can have a giant company like that run by a complete moron like Elon Musk, who's on ketamine and actively doing Sieg-Heils and, you know, running around making the whole country hate him. And just like, it just doesn't matter. Your company is just still there. Elon Musk just got $1 trillion contract from the Tesla board, I think, because they want him to stay focused on the cars and not politics. But it's like, I don't know. It just seems like Elon getting in the way hasn't gotten in the way. I don't know if the Cybertruck failed. I mean, I guess it depends on what that means. The way I see it, like I said, they just put it out there. Their goal is to get it on the streets so that it becomes something people are familiar with and people keep buying. So maybe they lost money on it, but if they made money with government contracts and different companies that are subsidiaries of Tesla, then does it matter that they lost money on the Cybertruck? I mean, that's kind of just how all this shit works. I agree with you, Aaron. I was just watching a random show that just happened to catch a little bit of an Elon Musk interview, and he said something like, you know, I've realized that even if you save 90% of the people, the other 10% are going to sue you. Even if you save 90% of lives, the other 10% are going to sue you. That was something he said in maybe like 2022 or something. So yeah, he just lost. He definitely lost the aura, and he got this complex about, I don't know, being like tortured as the world's richest man or something like that. I don't think he got $1 trillion, but he's contracted for $1 trillion, like effectively $1 trillion over a certain amount of time. Oh, that's an interesting detail, Sunbear. But still, I mean, the point of the deal is that they just want to keep him on. So I personally am less concerned with the idea of Elon being a trillionaire, although that's obviously not something I want, and it's probably inevitable. But more so what I'm saying is that everything that Elon Musk did to sabotage his own company didn't work. And it's still, the company is just as viable as it was. Let go of his PR team because he figured he didn't need him anymore. It's hard to know. I don't know. Because I don't know enough about, like, what it looks like for a famous person to have a PR team. How many of them actually have one? Is it something that you constantly consult about everything? You know, my understanding of PR is that they're just like idiots who just work in offices, and you might meet up with them directly at some points, but really it's just something that everything goes through if you're like in trouble or something, or if you have something to promote. I don't think PR people are really something you keep around you all the time. Maybe if you're smart, you hire them around the clock and they handle all your shit. But it seems to me with a guy like Elon, he's just more interested in being in front of the cameras all the time. And I don't think that's something that PR people really can stop you from doing. I mean, if they are hired, like I said, around the clock to control everything you put out there, then yeah, they would control when you go on TV and when you don't. But a guy like Elon Musk or Kanye West, for example, you know, is just not going to work with people like that. Or not going to listen to them. Yeah, it is a pedestrian killing machine. Microchip rendered further meaningful innovation redundant. That's an interesting take. So would you say that's why we keep getting all this like flashy technology that's not actually providing as much value? Eb&Flow PR team one? I don't know. I need one. I need one so I can get out here fucking, you know what I'm saying? I need to blanket the airwaves. I'm trying to blanket the airwaves. I'm trying to clog up the presses. You know what I mean? I'm trying to be everywhere, inescapable. But then, if the microchip rendered further meaningful innovation redundant, that would mean that essentially anything we could want to do, we could do with microchips. Is that what you're saying? Teslas are huge in Cali. They seem to be struggling everywhere else. Yeah, it's hard for me to tell, honestly, what it's like, you know, because in Cali, specifically when it comes to seeing Teslas drive around, it's like I see more Cybertrucks than probably most people do. But they're everywhere. I see them more regularly than I would have expected to. But this is LA, where people have stupid money to throw away, and they want to give money to people like Elon Musk. But this is also the land of people that, you know, in theory would have abandoned him over the fact that he was a Nazi, and yet didn't. You know what I mean? All the company has to do is keep putting out products, and they just keep buying it. And that's why they gave Elon the contract they did, is because they're like, just stop with the political shit, because everybody hates you now. And before, you had like infinite goodwill with the public. And so we just want you to focus on the company, because when you do that, even if you're getting in the way constantly, nobody knows that, and they just keep buying the products. People are testing out flying cars. They have those in China. I think there's videos of iShowSpeed riding in flying cars and shit. They're like a novelty trick. I don't think they're practical at all. I think flying cars is probably a bad idea. But I could see some version of it. I don't know. Probably a way off. Flying cars and helicopter. Not endorsing the DSA candidate. You're talking about, I'll say, I haven't covered that yet. I'll probably mention it within the next couple episodes. I'm curious about what's going on there. I think he's doing entirely the wrong thing. It's possible that behind the scenes he's encouraging Assay to go, but he's like, I can't endorse you because I made an agreement with Jeffries in order to get his endorsement. And, you know, now that there is actually a primary challenger, the conversation has shifted to the fact that Jeffries is not necessarily easy to beat in the Bronx. He has really high approval. So it doesn't mean that can't be beaten back. I don't know why all of a sudden Mamdani's like, we shouldn't be engaging in this type of thing. I think that's bunk. What are you talking about? Why not? I can't think of a single reason that it wouldn't be good to challenge leadership other than not being mean to them. Because like, even if it does cause like chaos to a certain extent, you know, having the leader have a reason to posture further to the left would be a good thing. Maybe they don't feel like it's winnable, so they feel like it's not worth the spectacle of trying to beat Hakeem Jeffries only to be beaten, and then Hakeem Jeffries' form of politics is reaffirmed, not yours. But I don't know why Mamdani's all of a sudden saying, now is not the time for that type of primary. Why not? I mean, immediately after you win an upset election, all of a sudden we shouldn't be going for long shots. I just don't see why that's not. I don't get it. But it literally could be that Mamdani is publicly saying that. And the understanding is that I have to say this publicly because otherwise what you do in a primary against Jeffries is going to become the main narrative in what I'm trying to do. That is possible. I don't want to give too much goodwill, but it's like that is the kind of thing that happens in politics. I just don't understand why Zoran's playing politics like that, and it seems like that's what we're going to continue to get from him. I would like to see. We'll see what he can deliver, but he's not being as clear as I would like. I actually do like Zitron. I haven't listened to his podcast, but I follow him on Twitter. Yeah, I like Zitron, but he also has constantly agitated for this idea that like the bubble burst is right around the corner and it hasn't materialized. So I like Zitron because he continually is able to point to information that challenges the narrative that these AI guys want us to buy into. But I think, I would have liked for his narrative to prove itself true a little bit faster. It might be too easy to say Mamdani has been captured, but I'd be lying if I was saying it didn't look a little bit like that to me. Primary Jeffries. Like, I just have not heard a single good argument for why it's a bad idea to primary Jeffries. Because he might lose? That's not a reason not to do it. I don't know. Like, what? Because it's not like this is somebody whose attention could be better spent somewhere else. Why wouldn't he? I don't get it. I don't get what the favorability towards Jeffries is. But it's possible that that's why we got a Mamdani endorsement from Jeffries. Because Jeffries is more vulnerable and so doesn't want to be primaried. That probably was brought up in discussions between Mamdani and Jeffries. It's important to recognize that Jeffries is probably like, why would I endorse you if you're just going to endorse a primary challenge? And the thing is there, I don't get why Zoran felt like he needed the endorsement. But again, it could come back to the fact that Hakeem is popular in his district. And so maybe Zoran felt like he needed that endorsement as much as we feel like he doesn't need that endorsement. So that would be an explanation for why Zoran is saying that it's a bad idea to primary Jeffries. But I think, fuck that. He already won. You're welcome, Cadillac. I'm really glad that you engage with it. Try my best. He did get a Jeffries endorsement directive. Schumer was the one who didn't endorse him, but Jeffries did. So that's what I'm saying. That might be why Zoran is publicly saying that a primary of Jeffries shouldn't happen, because that was part of the agreement in order to get the endorsement from Jeffries. Well, thank you, Cadillac. That's what I'm here for. Every establishment then needs to be primaried. I don't get it. Yeah, I mean, why not? People are saying now is not the time, and I don't get it. Like, give me an argument for why now is not the time. Yeah, Schumer didn't because he's less vulnerable to a primary challenge in the short term. So it could be that's the only reason we got a Hakeem Jeffries endorsement. is because, you know, Zoran maybe agreed that he wouldn't back a primary challenger. Now is not the time. Yeah, it's exactly the time. I don't get it. And just know, it's a little insulting to me that they don't feel the need to present any argument for why now is not the time. I don't get it. Obama 2.0. I think he's going to have a different type of tenure. I believe that Mamdani is going to pursue the things he said he's going to pursue. And when you look at just the things that he said he's going to pursue, it's doable stuff for the most part. Maybe not all of it, but it's like he did focus his campaign on things that are doable. And he seems like he's positioning himself to get those things done. It's the ancillary things that people would have wanted to see better movement from him on that so far is looking a little concerning. It's very early on, but it's also likely that the patterns we're seeing from him now are going to continue. I'm probably going to get off here soon, guys. Maybe in like 9 minutes. 4:20 a.m. Haha. She's hating on the free buses. She's also, though, signaled more openness to the idea of raising taxes. And it seems like he's got some allyship when it comes to Hochul, which he needed. What he didn't need really is allyship from Jeffries. Jeffries doesn't really offer him anything. I'm sure there's some collaboration to be done. Maybe in like securing funds or something. I don't know. See you, Boudica. Have a good one. Yeah. No, Aaron, I think he just means that is Zoran gonna be the type of disappointment that Obama was. Yeah. Yeah, I gotta wrap it up here. Gotta get some things taken care of and shaped up. Wet rag. Perfect way to put it. And he was just starting to get some juice because of that shutdown, man. Less interesting than a wet rag. Have to agree with that. Hell yeah, Dylan. Thanks for tuning in. Hell yeah, comma. I don't think so. Potentially, like. I hope not. I hope he does better. Like I said, I mean, his agenda is pretty targeted. So I don't think he'll get as lost in the sauce as Obama, but it's hard for me to be positive about what I'm seeing from him because I don't want to sit here and argue for somebody who's just obviously taking the establishment approach. So it's like the results are the only thing that's going to matter, and that's just not going to be clear for a while. So it's possible we're going to see this type of politicking from him pretty consistently, and you know, we may just have to put up with it. So these lives at a regular time. I probably won't do them every night. What time do you think I should start them at, Kiernan? Because I've thought about that. But I do a pod close to every night, so I try to do these like a couple times. I'm trying to think about what would be the right like specific time to do it. Yeah, they raised a lot of money for the transition. I'm not concerned about that because honestly, I want them to have a transition. They're doing good transition. They're doing things like, you know, research for how to get these projects done. Lena Khan is digging deep, looking into laws that can be used to pressure companies to lower prices. So, I mean, all of that is, I'm perfectly fine with them having the funding to do that. We'll see. Hopefully it doesn't just turn into a grift, but I don't think so. You didn't hear me, Kiernan? I said, what time do you think would be a good time regularly to get on? Like right now, it's 4:15 a.m. for me. When should I have hopped on? Both parties work hard to keep everyone miserable. Isn't that crazy? Isn't it crazy that we could have a country where we had some had some trust in the government. Yeah. Yeah, the reality is just, it's when it, especially when it comes to the lives, it's hard for me to be consistent about it. But I'm gonna try, both with this and with the freestyle streams I do, because I do want people to tune in for this stuff regular. So hit or miss, yeah. Whatever you upload, I can tune in. Hell yeah. That's kind of why I do it so early, because that makes it so that anyone who's on my time zone can get it a little later. But then people on the East Coast can get it in the early morning still. So that's kind of been my method. The wigs. Bring back the wigs. That's a new one. Is that the solution to our problems? All right, guys. I'm going to get out of here. Closing it down. Much love. Everybody have a good morning. Have a good night. I'll be back on soon. I'll be dropping a pod tomorrow morning probably. So stay on the lookout for that and more music. And go stream Pressure on all streaming platforms. Send my shit to everybody. Go hype all my videos. Tell your